There are two songs we're going to cover. The first one's going to take about 6 minutes, and it's very short. And it's called The Story of Tonight. It's a drinking song. And so these guys are in a bar, these soldiers, and they're singing this wonderful, poignant song. And I just want to make 2 points. Are you guys familiar with the song, A Mighty Fortress Is Our God? Are you guys familiar with that? Put your thumbs up if you know that song. Okay. How many put your thumbs down if you don't know that song? Okay. Okay. You guys should all know that song. It's a great song that's from the Reformation, and Martin Luther. It has a great tune, but it also comes from a drinking song. And Martin Luther took that song, the music to it, and he put it to Christian lyrics. And this is also a drinking song. And they both sort of have a 4/4 measure. They're a 4/4 beat. They're very similar in a lot of ways. Beautiful music. And these guys are in this bar singing this. And the second point I want to make is I've never been in combat, but I have to tell you that soldiers who have been in combat, and this song reflects that, have a very strong bond. You sense the enormous bond these people have, and it's brought out in the music. And I just want to point out, after the Civil War, for example, the Army of the Potomac used to gather every 5 years for these huge reunions. And my uncle on the submarine, his submarine crew would gather. And this is kind of an ongoing pattern, not only in this country, but all over the world. Today in Vietnam, the North Vietnamese gathered, and they have a very tight relationship. And there's just all these interesting groups of North Vietnamese that meet. So I want to start by sharing the screen and going to the song here, The Story of Tonight. And I want you guys to listen to this.
I may not live to see our glory.
I may not live to see our glory.
But I will gladly join the fight.
But I will gladly join the fight.
And when our children tell our story.
And when our children tell our story.
They'll tell the story of tonight.
Let's have another round tonight. Let's have another round tonight.
Let's have another round tonight.
Raise a glass to freedom. Something they can never take away. No matter what they tell you. Raise a glass to the 4 of us.
Tomorrow there'll be more of us telling the story.
Mr. Nelson, are we going to get through like all the Hamilton songs one day?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going song by song.
I may not live to see our glory.
I may not live to see our glory.
But I will gladly join the fight.
But I will gladly join the fight.
And when our children tell our story.
And when our children tell our story.
They'll tell the story of tonight.
Let's have another round tonight. Let's have another round tonight.
Let's have another round tonight.
Raise a glass to freedom. Something they can never take away. No matter what they tell you. Raise a glass to the 4 of us. Tomorrow there'll be more of us telling the story of.
Okay, now, one of the interesting things about this, it says tomorrow there'll be more of us. And I just want you guys to know, after the Battle of Bunker Hill, there were a lot of casualties. And after certain battles, Americans would die, and they'd also die. Most of the Americans died through illness and sickness through the camps. And when the Continental Congress was bemoaning that, Benjamin Franklin went and he showed them the mathematics that in a war of attrition, does anybody know what a war of attrition is, by the way? Anybody want to tell me? I'm going to go through and figure out how to do that. Chat, okay? No one knows what a war of attrition is? Okay. You guys can chat, type it in if you want. War of attrition. So a war of attrition is when the sides are grinding each other down. And a war of attrition is eventually the side that has the most resources will grind down the other. And so mathematically, Benjamin Franklin pointed out that it was much easier for us to replace soldiers than it was for the British. And so for as long as we took out a soldier, for every soldier they took out on our side, we were going to win. It was mathematically a war of attrition. Does that make sense to you guys? Thumbs up if you get what I said. Okay, good. Okay, so let's go on. And then I got a great...
They'll tell the story of tonight.
Raise a glass to freedom, something they can never take away.
No matter what they tell you.
Let's have another round tonight.
Raise a glass to the four of us.
Tomorrow there'll be more of us.
Telling the story of tonight.
Let's have another round tonight.
They'll tell the story of tonight.
Raise a glass to freedom.
They'll tell the story of tonight.
Raise a glass to freedom.
They'll tell the story of tonight.
They'll tell the story of tonight.
Okay. Did you guys like that song?
Does more than
Shoot,
capture errors.
I always make this
With
mistake,
Revit, you can find really good.
as you guys know. Did you guys like that song? Okay, isn't that a beautiful song? A lot of good melody and all. It's not a rap song. There's not a lot of words coming out fast, but it's a beautiful melody, I think. The next song is the Schuyler Sisters. And I just want to share with you some things about the Schuyler Sisters. This is going to be an interpretation that I'm going to show you first from Utah. And it's not New York City, obviously, from the background, but it's really an interesting interpretation. And I think you guys will really like this song. And you know what? I'll just play this and then I'll go into the details about it, okay? And so here we go. Share.
There's nothing rich folks love more than going downtown and slumming it with the poor. They pull up in their carriages and gawk at the students in the common.
Okay, so it starts out, there's nothing rich folks love more than going downtown and slumming it with the poor. So it's, first of all, it's creating a picture of this thriving, booming metropolis, New York. Back then at the time of the Revolution, Philadelphia was actually larger than New York City. So New York had not been all that developed then. But one of the things you need to understand is that Lin-Manuel Miranda and the roots of Hamilton are really deep into New York. And a lot of the music from the song gives homage to New York. And they have this kind of friendly rivalry with New Jersey. And there's some lines in the play which kind of rib New Jersey that we're going to get to later on. Now, the sisters, there were three of them. And there were also two brothers, although for purposes of the musical, the brothers are like thrown out. They don't exist. And they're falsely, to make one of the lyrics work, they refer to the girls as not having any brothers. That's not true. There were five of them. But the oldest, who was the oldest? Does anyone, who's the oldest, do you think? We got Liza, Peggy, and what were their names? Do you guys remember?
And Angelica.
Angelica, Liza, and Peggy. Now, the two oldest were Angelica and Liza. We never hear from Peggy in scene 2. She's just thrown out. And a question you should ask yourselves is what happened in real life that she was cast out of the musical? And that, it's a sad story, but it's a very common one at this time. Peggy married young, which was very common, probably 18 or 19 years old, maybe even 17. She died also when she was very young. So she just died, not a whole lot very far into the American Revolution. She got married and died. Sad but true. So let's push on. Now, their father is very interesting, Philip Schuyler. The man is loaded. Philip Schuyler was an officer under General Washington. He was a colonel, and he was a prominent man. And he didn't have as much money as he made himself out to be. It turned out he wasn't super rich at all, but he put on a good show. And so I say that because we've been able to determine that through looking at a lot of things in history. But he put on a good show, and people thought he was really super successful.
Take Philip Schuyler, the man is loaded. Uh-oh, but little does he know that his daughters, Peggy, Angelica, Eliza, sneak into the city just to watch all the guys.
So you have 3 gals going into the city to gawk, to watch all the guys.
Is it
Angelica, Eliza, and Peggy. The Schuyler Sisters. Angelica, Peggy, Eliza. Daddy said to be home by sundown. Daddy doesn't need to know. Daddy said not to go downtown.
Okay, now this is a fictional conversation, but we know a lot about the personalities of the 3 ladies. Who do you think the most intelligent one was? Why don't you guys can chat over here, and you can chat of the 3, who was the brightest? Who was in real life? It's in the play, but can anyone tell me? No, not Peggy, actually. Kyle's right. It was Angelica. Angelica, it said in the music, she's the wittiest and the prettiest. And that's actually true. She had an amazing mind, and that's reflected in this music, in the words and the body language. She's the one who was the belle of the ball. She was the star of the party, and the men went crazy over Angelica. Eliza was also well respected. Okay, let's push on now.
Like I said, you're free to go, but look around, the revolution's happening in New York.
Now, I've asked you this before, and I'm going to ask it again. Were they conscious of the fact that we're making history? These lyrics are referring to the fact they're saying, look around, the revolution's happening in New York. Were they conscious of the fact that they were making history?
Yes.
You know, they really were conscious. And the reason for that is because what had been thought about in the Enlightenment through Locke, through some of the great Enlightenment philosophers, the idea that we could start a culture anew without a king was really just in theory. And they were very conscious of the fact that this concept of self-government, starting out with not a lot of baggage, with not a real stratified society, this sort of thing. In theory, they had these ideas, but they were very conscious of the fact that they were getting to try them out in this continent that was so rich in resources.
It's bad enough that he wants to go to war. People shouting in the square. It's bad enough there'll be violence on our shore.
You know, and I like this lyric. You guys saw the guy being tarred and feathered. And so he put in there, very conscious that a lot of people opposed the American Revolution because they knew that it would bring violence and death, and it did.
Ideas in the air. Look around, look around. Angelica, remind me what we're looking for.
And the men come in and they all say, she's looking for me. I love that arrogance, you know, and that self-confidence. And then Eliza says, I'm looking for a mind at work. So she's looking for a really bright guy.
Eliza, I'm looking for a mind.
By the way, this is in, what I'm going to say is in the play, and there's no evidence in history for this. But the play makes there out to be a love triangle. And Eliza loved Alexander Hamilton, and Alexander Hamilton loved, Angelica. Angelica loved Alexander Hamilton, and Alexander loved Angelica. And there was this love triangle. So while...
Didn't they have an affair at one point?
Okay, you know what? I'm not going to go there because that wasn't with Angelica. What you said is true, Court, and we're not there yet. He did have an affair, but it wasn't with Angelica. It seems through history, we seem to see no evidence of an affair with Angelica other than a mental affair. They loved each other mentally. They loved each other as friends. And in the musical, they sort of imply there might be something going on between Hamilton and Angelica. Okay, but I share that with you. But the song is "I'm Looking for a Mind at Work," and so she loved Alexander Hamilton's mind.
I'm looking for a mind at work. I'm looking for a mind at work. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Ooh, there's nothing like summer in the city. Someone in a rush next to someone looking pretty. Excuse me, miss, I know it's not funny, but your perfume smells like your daddy's got money. While you slumming in the city in your fancy heels, you searching for an urchin who can give you ideals.
Sir, you disgust me.
Ah, so you disgust me. I'm a trust fund, baby, you can trust me.
I've been reading Common Sense by Thomas.
Okay, now that's a really funny line. That's one of the lines, Lin-Manuel Miranda's wife, that's her favorite line in the whole play. I'm a trust fund, baby, you can trust me. And they're playing with words, okay? Let me go back and check those. Okay, there's also this line that's great. It's a great play on words. Burr, you disgust me. So it's D-I-S-G-U-S, disgust. And then Burr responds and says, ah, so you've discussed me. I'm a trust fund, baby. You can trust me. But in that line, there's just enormous humor there. And I'm looking at the chatting here, and it seems like Delia is putting nothing down. Delia, you were supposed to be disconnected from chatting or disconnected verbally. And so I don't want to see anything being typed or said by Delilah. If Delilah types or says anything, let me know and she'll be removed from class for the rest of this, okay? So Burr says, so you've discussed me. Do you guys appreciate the pun between disgust and disgust? Do you guys appreciate the intellectual pun there? Put your thumbs up if you get that. Very funny. And then he says, I'm a trust fund, baby, you can trust me. And Burr came from a family with money, so he could have been a trust fund baby.
Disgust me.
Ah, so you disgust me. I'm a trust fund, baby, you can trust me.
I've been reading Common Sense by Thomas Paine. So meant to say that I'm intense or I'm insane. You want a revolution? I want a revolution.
Okay, so this is very good because she says, by the way, this class ends at 10 o'clock, right? This class ends at 10, okay. She says, I've been reading Common Sense by Thomas Paine. Do you guys know anything about Common Sense? Common Sense by Thomas Paine really gave the American Revolution the intellectual foundation, and it was read all through the colonies, and he made some really interesting observations. One of the points he made was, how can an island rule a continent? And I think I heard Court refer to that. And that was his argument. How can an island rule a continent? And you know, you guys can download and read Common Sense by Thomas Paine now. Just Google it and download it and read it. It's just gives some really insightful arguments for why we should break away from England. So she sings this song and she says, so men say that I'm intense or I'm insane. You want a revolution? I want a revelation. So listen to my declaration. So she's winding up, and obviously she's not a woman probably of that century in time. She's a modern woman who is self-expressed, and she's going to make some expressions now that she's
So listen to my declaration. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal.
Okay, and she says, well, let me.
And when I meet Thomas Jefferson, I'ma compel him to.
Okay, so she says that we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. Now, that really could have been men in a general sense, including women, mankind. And she says, when I meet Thomas Jefferson, I'm going to compel him to include women in the sequel. Question to you guys. Do you think that Angelica, do you think, not Angelica, but do you think Eliza ever met Thomas Jefferson? Do you guys think Eliza ever met Thomas Jefferson?
I don't think she has because she didn't want to because Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson had different political parties.
You know what? You can research this, but actually either Angelica or Eliza met Thomas Jefferson. And now that I think about it, I think Angelica, before her death and Jefferson's death, did actually meet. And there's no indication that there was any. I think it was Angelica. Look that up and tell me later today. She says, don't look it up now. Don't look it up now. Look it up later. She says, I'm going to compel him to include women in the sequel.
Women in the sequel. Work. Look around, how lucky we are to be alive right now. Look around, how lucky we are to be alive right now. History is happening in Manhattan, and we just happen to be in the greatest.
So do you see the joy in this music? Do you see the upbeat spirit? Don't you guys love that melody? And also the lyrics are in the greatest city in the world. And so that is kind of ribbing New Jersey and kind of the rest of the country. Lin-Manuel Miranda wants to make it clear to the world that New York is the greatest city in the world, okay?
Mr. Cutter,
Yes.
is Peggy the younger one?
Yeah, Peggy's the younger one.
Oh, okay.
She's not in the second act. Now, I want you guys to understand something that's really interesting to me, and that is, you know how in the end of this, they sing together and they harmonize in the greatest city in the world, and that, you know what I'm talking about? How the three voices come together and they go up. The reason that they do that is because when these three women got together, they immediately clicked. The Schuyler sisters in real life, the women who played the Schuylers, kind of became sisters, and they were very close, and they're still close, and they got together to sing, and they started singing and jamming and improvising. And so Lin-Manuel Miranda was so blown away about how good they sounded, they added the last part based on the improvisation of these three women. Philippa Sousa is one of them, and I don't know the names of the other two, but we're going to look at them right now, and it is so powerful what I'm going to show you now. This is the Kennedy performance, and I want you guys, can you guys listen to this?
Original cast.
You guys are going to love this.
The incredible Renee
Can you hear it? Thumbs up if you hear it.
Jones and Philippa Sue,
Okay.
the Schuyler Sisters.
This is so powerful.
Work, work, Angelica, work, work, Eliza, and Peggy, the Schuyler sisters, Angelica, Peggy, Eliza, work. Daddy said to be home by sundown. Daddy doesn't need to know. Daddy said not to go downtown. Like I said, you're free to go, but look around, the revolution's happening in New York. New York, Angelica, work. It's bad enough Daddy wants to go to war. People shouting in the square. It's bad enough there'll be violence on our shore. New ideas in the air. Look around, Angelica, remind me what we're looking for. Eliza, I'm looking for a mind in work, work. I'm looking for a mind in work, work. I'm looking for a mind in work, work. Whoa, work. Woo! I've been reading Common Sense by Thomas Paine. So men say that I'm intense or I'm insane. You want a revolution? I want a revelation. So listen to my declaration. for a mind and work. Hey, work, in the greatest city, in the greatest city in the world.
Okay, how did you guys like that?
Yeah, that was awesome.
Okay, I've got another one for you that's going to be good from the musical. But what? Okay, can you guys are welcome to share with me what spirit, what attitude does this express?
I think towards the end, women's rights, because back then women didn't get treated as equal as men.
Actually, women started to be treated pretty well compared to England. Women were treated much better in America than they were in the in what became the United States. Treated women better than they did in England. I said that the social stratification was less, and that included women were included more, and they actually gave women the vote in a lot of places early on, and women lost the vote. But I have to explain something to you about that, because you bring up a good point. It doesn't necessarily mean if when they didn't give women the vote that they were looking down on women. And I'm going to throw this out to you. What was considered the centerpiece of society? What was the centerpiece of society then? Was it the individual? No, it really wasn't. It was the family, okay? So the family was considered the core of a society, okay? And so in a sense, the man is the head of the household and he represents the family, so he votes. So it wasn't necessarily a put down on women when they didn't give women the vote. But there's another really good reason they didn't give women the vote. And here's what it is. This is an agrarian society. It's a society of farmers, okay? Do you think that the man and the woman are going to get in on a horse, or they're going to get in a wagon or a buggy, and they're going to go 12 miles into town and vote together on election day? Do you think that's possible? Hello? Do you see the problems? How, people are going to have to watch the farm. You can't just leave your farm unattended. The animals need to be fed. Things need to be protected and watched over, okay? So the men would go into town to vote, and they'd sometimes go in there for a couple of days and party and do a lot of drinking sometimes and whatever it was they were going to do. And somebody had to stay home at the farm. So in an agrarian society, it just doesn't work for men and women to vote. Today, we vote a lot of times by absentee ballot, and that's becoming more popular. But when I was your age, the men and women would go and vote, and they'd get in their car and they'd be gone for a half hour and come back, and it wasn't any big deal. But then they'd sometimes have to be gone for several days when they'd go vote, because it might have been miles before they could get to a voting booth. So it wasn't just because they disliked women. I don't want you to think that. And America treated women better than England did in any event. Does that make sense to you, Court?
Yes, Mr. Nelson, it does.
Okay. Now I need to show you this part. So I want to share with you the sound to me. It shows an enormous love for New York. It has a sense of adventure in the music. It has a sense of liveliness. I love the music in this because I've shared with you two songs. The first was The Story of Tonight, which shows camaraderie. It shows mutual brotherly love. And the story, and then we go into the Schuyler Sisters, which shows a loving relationship between these three sisters, a love for the city, a sense of adventure, Thomas Paine. So what I love about this musical is, more than any other musical I've ever heard, it really reflects the heart and it reflects the emotions of that moment. When we get to sadness, it's going to reflect that. So we see that in this musical. Now, I want to get to the last part, and then we're going to get to that now.
Man is loaded. Uh-oh, but little does he know that his daughter's Peggy Angelica Eliza sneak into the city just to watch other guys.
Angelica, Eliza, and Peggy.
The Schuyler Sisters.
Angelica, Eliza. Daddy said to be home by sundown.
Daddy doesn't need to know.
Daddy said not to go downtown.
Like I said, you're free to go. Look around, the revolution's happening in New York.
New York. It's bad enough Daddy wants to go to war.
People shouting in the square.
It's bad enough there'll be violence on our shore.
New ideas in the air. Look around.
Angelica, remind me what we're looking for.
She's looking for me. Eliza, I'm looking for a mind at work. I'm looking for a mind at work. I'm looking for a mind at work. Whoa, 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 whoa. There's nothing like summer in the city. Someone in a rush next to someone looking pretty. Excuse me, miss, I know it's not funny, but your perfume smells like your daddy's got money. While you slumming in the city in your fancy heels, you searching for an urchin who can give you ideals.
Where you disgust me.
Ah, so you disgust me. I'm a trust fund, baby. You can trust me.
One of the points I want to make is the stage here, and it's true whenever they show this play, they have the stage revolving, and there's a big huge circle beneath their feet, and it turns on, and they walk sometimes. They walk, but they stay in place, and then they stop it, and then they talk, and that's very clever the way it's done, and it takes a lot of engineering to get to that.
Common sense, but Thomas Paine. So men say that I'm intense or I'm insane. You want a revolution, I want a revelation. So listen to my declaration. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. And when I meet Thomas Jefferson, I'll compel him to include women in the sequel.
Look around at how lucky we are to be alive right now. Look around at how lucky we are to be alive right now. History is happening in Manhattan, and we just happen to be in the greatest city in the world. In the greatest city in the world. Look down on the city below. Let's go and see it on that everything. To my declaration, we hold this truth to be self-evident, and all men are created equal. Look around at how lucky we are to be alive right now. History is happening in Manhattan, and we just happen to be in the greatest city in the world. In the greatest city in the world.
Angelica,
Eliza, and Peggy, the Schuyler Sisters. We're looking for a mind at work. Hey, in the greatest city in the world.
Okay. Okay, which song did you like better? Thumbs up if you liked The Story of Tonight, and thumbs up. So let's start with, we're going to vote on those two songs. Who liked The Story of Tonight the most of the two songs I shared today? Put your thumbs up if you like The Story of Tonight. Wyatt and Keenan liked it. Okay, how about Schuyler Sisters? Who likes Schuyler Sisters the most? Okay, very good. That's very good. Okay, good. Well, I'm surprised more people didn't like Story of Tonight. You guys, you're welcome to chat. I got a chat going on here, and I'll look at that. The music is on the happy scale. Excitement, it's a happy. Okay, good. Why don't you guys, we have just about 2 minutes. Why don't you type in and tell me what you thought of those songs. Which did you like the most? The presentation, the Utah, which is the first one, the Kennedy Center, which is the second, or the last one, which was the musical. Why don't you all type in and tell me first, second, or third? The Utah. Okay, Court said Utah. And then the musical is what Keenan said. Delilah said the Utah one. 1, 2, or 3. Remember the second. Okay, Utah. Oh, a lot of you like that. That's interesting. Okay. Brenna liked the musical. Okay, Utah. I liked all. Brenna liked. Okay. So what did you learn today? I'm going to ask you guys. Tell me what you learned today, Sarah. We got a minute to go. Okay. Keenan, what did you learn today? Keenan, what did you learn today, Keenan?
I learned that the Schuyler Sisters have brothers.
Oh, okay. They have 2 brothers. Nolan, what did you learn today?
I actually didn't know that about the Schuyler Sisters. I had no idea they were actually a thing.
Oh, you didn't know they really existed in real life? They are buried. Hamilton is buried with Liza and Angelica in New York in an old graveyard there. Okay. What I would say, Court asked me who my favorite character is. I think, well, of course, Hamilton's my favorite character, but other than Hamilton, I think Eliza, his wife, is. And we haven't heard the whole play yet, but when we get there, you'll know why Eliza's my second favorite character. And you know, King Wyatt says
Mine's King George, but like I love his song. Like I know the whole words to it.
Okay.
But other than King George, Lafayette.
Lafayette is probably, actually Lafayette's probably my second favorite character. But you're talking about the characters. I'm talking about in real history. I think Lafayette's definitely up there. Well, let's see. It's 9 o'clock, you guys. Enjoyed it. Did you guys, thumbs up if you had a good time today.
Also, when will we get to the King George song?
We're getting there, buddy. Well, you can look it up. What we're going chronologically through. Okay, so you can look it up. We're getting there. Okay. God bless you. Oh, I'll see you guys in. How long will I see you? 10:20, 10:15,
10:15. 10:15.
Okay, I'll see you 10:15 for long.